Hello everyone and welcome to the Crafty Crew podcast. My name is Kinger. Am I going to have to say Big Juicy every week?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
not to.
It's kind of
How are the people going to know who you are?
Yeah, fair. My name is Kinger or Big Juicy, and as always I'm joined by Mark,
Guten Abend.
by Nally,
Buenas noches.
and by Walshy.
Hello.
English. It's English.
Walshy.
It's English.
That's exactly
I'm
what to do.
gonna guess
When they
American.
when they come at you, Walshy.
And I had one on everything.
Is it American?
Okay. And you fucking, 1 or 2 little 5-minute bits I have in the entire episode, and you take it away from me.
Just phasing
You're
you out,
some
man.
bastards.
Just phasing you out.
What was it? What was yours, Walshy? Go on.
What?
What was it?
What had you, Walshy?
Ciao ragazzi.
Ciao ragazzi.
Italian.
Oh, Italian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ciao
Hello, lads.
ragazzi. But you didn't
Nice.
do the hands.
You ruined it for me. I was fully invested in everything. I had like a fake mustache hair beside me and everything.
Very quickly, lads, this week was exciting. This week was exciting for us as we kicked off our first ever Crafty Crew NFL Fantasy League. Give us a quick 10 out of 10 rating for each of your teams. How you feel you did?
Yeah, I'm going to go with the A rating I got from myself and also from the NFL website. So I'm going to say A+ for me.
Nice. Nally?
Well, I mean, I don't know if there's a point. It's on a different scale to your teams, so I don't know if there's much point rating it, boys.
Yeah.
I got a B, so
They generally don't go below
got a
F,
B,
do
so-
they, Nally? The ratings generally don't go below F.
NG is a rating, Mark. How dare you?
I got a B from 10th pick, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I got a B+. I thought maybe better. I think that tight end might hurt me.
Where?
It's questionable, but I have made changes already, so we'll see. It's hard to really tell going into the first week, but we'll see how it goes.
This week we are in Donegal and Derry, so let's see. Nally, tell us about Heaney, will you?
Yeah, so Heaney, it's based in Derry. It's a family farm. It's actually a family farm of Seamus Heaney. His dad owned it, so Seamus Heaney the poet. It's his family farm, and it's his niece and her husband that set up this brewery. So they got permission to set it up in 2018. They set it up on the farm itself. They set it up, I think it was around October or so in 2018. They set up the microbrewery. So the farmhouse itself, it's on a good bit of land or whatever, but it's where Seamus Heaney got a lot of his inspiration for his poems and stuff, which is, it's pretty cool. Fair play. I think he was a poet laureate for one stage, and I think, did he win a Nobel Prize for it? But anyway, I could be wrong, but I think he did. It was either him or Kavanagh, but one of them won a Nobel Prize for it. Someone could fact check while I'm still shiting on. But what they did was they set up the
Mark's
brewery.
already
They
on
have a small range of beers at the minute. However, it is, they do some specials and they do some seasonals. Everything just shit the bed there for a second, sorry. They do a small range of beers, but they do some seasonals and they do some special releases, which are pretty cool. So some of the core range consists of like red ales, stouts. They have, what else? They have pale ales, blondes, West Coast, and a New England. And this one we're trying today is their double pale ale, which I'm actually really looking forward to. So I think it'll be pretty good. But they have some really interesting specials out. So they have, the cans are all pretty cool, some of the special ones. They had one, it's called Digital Leash, which sounds like it would be unreal. It was a dry hopped IPA, and it sounds like it would be unreal if I can find it anywhere. Walshy, I think it's one you should definitely try and get your hands on. But apart from that, there's not a whole lot of information out. There's not a whole lot of further information on them. They're just kind of new to the market. They're getting settled in. Their core range of beers look like they're pretty promising. Look like they're pretty solid. If this one goes well today, I feel like I'll definitely have to try the rest of them. The cans themselves are, they're pretty plain. It's just a basic enough can with a label on it. And like most of them, the labels just change depending on the beer. But the labels. Remember last week we had the Boundary Brewing, and we were kind of commenting on the feel of the label. This is similar enough. It's kind of a bit textured, which is, I think it's a nice touch. It's just something that's a little bit different, but I think it's pretty cool. Did you get to check up on that, Mark? Was I right or wrong about any of those lads?
Oh no, sorry, I wasn't arse googling.
Oh,
I'm pretty
fair enough.
sure. I'm pretty sure Kavanagh did win a Nobel Prize, but I don't know if Heaney did or didn't.
I'm going to say I'm right, just because it's easier for me to say that. Turns out I am. Queue up. 1995 Nobel Prize for Literature. Come on, secondary school English, right in there. Useless information.
Bit of speed googling while you're talking as well is always very impressive, Nally.
I try.
Walshy, for the love of God, what are you going to tell us about Derry?
Right, as Mark stated, I think it was 2 weeks ago, that I try to make everything about myself. So I'm going to bring this around to myself in some way. So there's a bit of reaching behind this, all right? So as you know, Derry sounds like ferry, right? Ferry is another word for a boat. A famous boat is the Titanic, which was also turned into a movie, which starred Leonardo DiCaprio, who was born in 1974, which happened to be the same year that Penn and Teller met, who are well-known magicians. And as we know, magicians are very well known for making things disappear. And working in the public eye in the last 18 months, I can safely say there's a lot of people in this world that I would love to make disappear.
What?
Yeah. You can't say I didn't do any research, because there was a lot of going back and forth here between a lot of shite.
But just the bit at the end.
No, leave it alone, Mark. Leave it alone. Leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Leave it alone.
The threats you're making to nobody in particular.
Just everybody. You work in Duns during a pandemic. You will want to do the exact same thing.
Oh, customers. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You didn't say the retail industry. I didn't know what you meant.
Okay. Working in the public eye is kind of okay.
I think your definition of public eye and everyone else's definition of the public eye is different. I'd say, I think that's where the confusion is. You worked among the public, not in the public eye. I think someone who works in the public eye works
like celebrities and stuff.
It's kind of a celebrity or well known, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I might as well be a celebrity at this stage, but I didn't want to.
Honestly, it's like the worst game of Chinese whispers that someone's having with themselves.
I enjoy throwing that together, though.
I would absolutely say that you did enjoy that. Right, Mark, Kinnigar, what have you got for us?
So, Kinnigar, for me, there's a few breweries in the country that are synonymous with excellent craft beer. And Kinnigar are one of those. Okay, they're right up there. They're really, really established craft brewery at this point. However, they're not that old. It's actually their 10th birthday this year. So they're established in 2011 in a little pilot facility by two people, Libby Carton and Rick Levert. Okay, so their original beers were Lime Burner and Devil's Backbone. Then in 2013, they moved to a kind of purpose-built facility. And then in 2017, they expanded again. So they kind of have this little cool thing where K1 is their first expanded brewery, K2 is their current brewery, and pre-K1 is their original, pilot brewery, which is, I think, is just a nice little way of splitting up their lifetime. So they're based in Donegal. They have quite a wide range of beers nowadays. They have a very big core range, and they do seasonals. Their name is quite interesting. So the brewery is right beside Kinnigar Beach, and Kinnigar the beach name comes from an Anglicization of the word Coneycar, which means rabbit warren in Irish, and derives from coneen, which is the Irish for rabbit. So that word coney meaning rabbit, that's where that comes from. So if Kinnigar means rabbit, right, you'll notice that almost all of their cans have hares fighting on it. So Thumper, I guess Big Bunny is a rabbit, but the one we have today, Mary Tiller, has a load of rabbits failing to cut the grass, I suppose. Or what? Sorry, they're harvesting carrots in the most unusual way. One of them has a hammer. I don't know why he has that, but anyway, they do look like hares. So they say people ask us about the bunnies all the time, and they reckon that they're hares. But a friend of the brewery, Dermot Flynn, is their creative illustration collaborator, is what they call him. So the man who draws the pictures. And he didn't have any physiological guidelines for any of his work. So, it's really on the brewery there that there's ambiguity. But you know what? They're fun designs. And the most fun part of their designs is, I don't know if you're familiar with Rust Bucket, the beer. So Rust Bucket... Yeah, yes. Was the name of... This is so... It's a bit sad after you read the whole thing, right? But it's very cute. So Rust Bucket, Black Bucket, anywhere there's a bucket in their name, it means they've been using rye malts. Okay, so if you see any of their beers with bucket in the name, it's rye malt. Or red crystal rye. It's named after an Irish terrier they had called Rust Bucket. Or Rusty, is what everyone calls them. And he was just like, it's hard to get a good picture of it, but he was like a real troublemaker. He was stubborn, he was tenacious. And unfortunately, he passed away around the time they were making their first rye beer. So they kind of decided to name the beer. It was a stubborn, troublesome beer to brew. So they decided to name it after him. And so you'll see Rusty is on the Rust Bucket flying a plane. And Rusty also makes appearances on some other cans. I don't think he's on the one today. No, but he's on. I think he's on a few of them. So the Bucket and Spade one, where we tried in this podcast during our Black IPA episode, we had a debate about what it was getting in a bin. It was something in a black bin.
And it's. I think we confirmed. Yeah, it was, and I think we confirmed it was definitely, according to Walshy, a dragon. So
yeah, it was a dragon.
Yeah, I think that's what we landed on, dragon. Yeah,
we did land on dragon, but there's the controversial conspiracy theory that maybe it was Rusty as well. Yeah, but no, they have they're a really good brewery with a very good history and a very good reputation in Ireland that they've established over a long time. So yeah, they're, there's not too much to say about them other than I can't wait to try this. One cool thing, actually, they do tours of their brewery, which a lot of places do. But one thing they do that I haven't seen very often is they have a brew academy. So you can go and do like a 2-day course where they'll teach you about brewing and how to home brew and the kind of theory behind brewing and stuff, which is very cool. And I'm a very, very amateur home brewer myself. So that's the kind of thing I'd be really interested in doing, to kind of learn more and see if I'd be interested in expanding or doing more complicated things. Yeah, so that's Kinnegar Brewing.
So when are we going on that course?
I was going to say, is that a little holiday for the crafty crew, boys? We do a 2-day course.
We'll chalk that up and we'll...
Kinnegar might listen and they might extend an old invitation.
All I'll say, Walshy, is like the 4 bad kids in Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It would only be a matter of time before we all wandered off into different rooms stealing their beer.
Yeah.
And with the range,
I'd probably be the one that gets sucked up in the beer. I'd fall into the tank.
What did you find out about Donegal? Will you tell us?
So I personally think we deserve credit for Kinnegar. And let me break it down why I think why, right?
Whoa, hang on now. When you say we and deserve credit, do you mean the Crafty Crew podcast?
Yes.
Or the Irish population in general?
A little bit of both.
I've all of a sudden got very nervous. Go on.
And just before you go, hold on. By deserve credit, do you mean have nothing to do with it at all?
No credit whatsoever. Yeah,
okay, that's fine. Just check.
Yeah. Right. No, it's just... So as we know, we've established Kinnegar is in Donegal. And a famous Irish goalkeeper, Shay Given, is from Donegal, who played for the Irish team. And as people know, we are Irish.
I feel like this is going in the same direction as the last one.
Absolutely, it's 100% going in the same direction. It was a quick throw together, not as imaginative as the last one. But coming back to that, as we are Irish, I think we all deserve partial credit since it all comes together.
I would also like to claim part of Katie Taylor's world boxing titles as being a fellow Irish person. So,
Yeah, we could do that.
I want a belt, Katie. Send me my belt. You have enough. Share them.
Don't be mean.
Jesus, we're 14 episodes in, and I've only realised that we should have named this Walshy's Whispers, just because it's the ramblings of a madman, and it's just like, oh God. Okay, thanks for that, Walshy. Should we move on to the first beer of the week? Are we starting with Heaney's Double Pale Ale?
Yeah, let's get into it. Fuck.
Okay, crack them open.
Yeah, be slow opening it, but it's not too
Am
bad.
I right in saying Seamus Heaney read this big long poem at the inauguration of Michael T. Higgins? I have a feeling he did.
I think you're right, but I'm not certain. However, my Googling skills might find out.
Well, I have to say, this has a lovely, typical pale ale kind of smell off of it. You can really get the dry hops and the initial aroma.
Gorgeous smell of that. Gorgeous.
Just a quick one as well. I was talking about their core range. They have a beer that I've found on it that I need to try. It was an Irish white ale. I've just never heard of it.
I've seen that earlier. I was looking it up.
Yeah, just never heard of one.
That is a beautiful smelling beer, lads, and I love that it's poured like with a lovely kind of very typical head as well.
I was going to say, and I've said before, about cans that kind of are a bit more decorative, they kind of stand out. And these aren't like full labels, they're kind of, triangled at the top, it doesn't take up the full can, but the simplicity of it is actually quite nice, which is kind of very different to what I've stated before. But maybe that's because it's not a full label that wraps the whole way around the can, it still kind of stands out.
This might be just, me having a guess, but the kind of shape of the label does remind me of like a barn, like the triangular peak. And it's a farm come from a family farm. So maybe that's it. Just a guess. Might be wrong.
It makes as much sense as anything.
Interestingly enough, so like 90% of cans we drink, sometimes they'll give you the hops they use or the yeast, which Nally is a big fan of. They don't in this case, but even when we do get the ingredients and they do state the hops or yeast, it's still barley, wheat, hops, yeast. And maybe they say water as well, right? This has barley, wheat and oats, interestingly enough. So I'm kind of expecting a nice like oaty finish to it.
Yeah, so a lot of the time when we get those beers that have the oats in it, they tend to be that little bit smoother. It's just something about the oats in the brewing process. They kind of round out a beer and make it just less kind of sharp. A good example is the Dead Center's Marooned. That's an oat IPA. So that's actually pretty good for it. And then a lot of them are like oatmeal stouts and things like that as well. They're pretty rounded out stouts, which is where you kind of see it a lot more often than just in the beers. But yeah, I like them when they're in there. I think it gives it a really good mouthfeel, so it does. Kind of soft. Kind of softens it out or something, which I think is really good. The
Colour-wise, it's like, fairly standard pale ale colour. It's not really... It's not very different. It's just your typical kind of golden pale ale, would say.
My waddy kind of a lime, as you enter to the water.
Is your can okay?
Yeah, is lime? What?
No, but like my waddy or Robinson, mine is kind of, maybe it's because it's the light that's shining through it. It looks kind of like a very light hazy yellow.
So that would be orange, like that would be like an orange drink.
Have you mixed up your fruits again, Walshy?
Oh, you see, yeah, no, it's definitely the light.
Okay.
It's holding up in front of me. There's a light pointing straight at me, so it's shining straight through.
It's quite hazy as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so when you first pour it, there is kind of like a haze that goes down through it, the protein haze or something. It's just going down through it, which, I think is always a nice little thing to see. It settles out pretty quick after you've had a mouthful or two. That haze kind of, it just completely is hazy then. It's not like a trail that you can see through it anymore. It's just all into one. But it's, it's pretty light in colour. The smell is really good. Smell lasts for a while, and then on the mouthfeel, it's super soft. Like,
yeah, that oaty smoothiness you were talking about, Nally, you really get that with it, don't you? As well as a nice little sharp bite of carbonation at the front end, I find too, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and at the end, it's the bitterness of the hops kind of hit you right at the end, in the back of the mouth, which is class. It's exactly what it's what I really like in a beer. So it's got that The carbonation just at the start, it's got the smoothness the whole way through, and then at the end, it's got the bitterness of the hops.
It's quite nice. Like we're recording tonight. It's quite warm. It's quite a refreshing beer. Like there's quite a floral taste on that as well, right?
Yeah, definitely getting that, like some floral notes, kind of more West Coasty, piney floral, like a resiny floraliness, but it is surprisingly kind of refreshing, because with a pale ale you're kind of thinking it's a more, not that it's not refreshing, but it's a more kind of standard, little bit juicy kind of beer, a little bit heavier. So this kind of is quite nice that it is so refreshing.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm enjoying watching all the bubbles rise to the top.
I feel like at this point Walshy's checked out now. He's just enjoying watching the bubbles.
I had my moment in the sun. No, but it's kind of it's just the carbonations and all the bubbles rising. Mine is it's like flying up. It's nearly like lava lamp or something kind of style. It's kind of really cool to just see it, but it's beautiful. It's actually really, really nice, and no more than what you said. Smooth, very refreshing. Really helps in the fact the heat that we have right now. It's going down very well.
I'm really surprised by how refreshing it is. I was expecting something a bit more, maybe a bit more bitter for some reason. I don't know why.
I was kind of nervous on the double part of it. Now I wasn't expecting double IPA kind of standards, but double pale ale, I was kind of expecting something maybe a bit more, I don't know, harsh maybe. I don't know if that's the right term.
So this is only 5.0% ABV, so I'm assuming the double in this case may refer to a double dry hop as opposed to any alcohol content.
Yeah, it actually says it at the bottom.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I think you've nailed it, Mark. Yeah, definitely. I reckon that's what it is, more so than the the upped alcohol content that we normally see. But yeah, it's pretty.
Do you mean like what it says on the can? Is it?
Yeah,
it's a full on Ronseal. It's a full on Ronseal, so it is.
Oh, I'm so smart. Look at me. I'm a professional craft beer reviewer. I can read a can.
That's what most of us are doing, to be fair.
Yeah. Let's not lie.
This one has surprised me, I have to say. I'm an awful fecker for judging a book by a cover, so like going on by the can design, I wasn't expecting to like this. I don't know why, but that was my gut instinct. But it's a quality beer so far. Hopefully it'll kind of go the distance and be nice and consistent. It'll be consistent the whole way through, you know.
Kinger, that whole fan of judging a book by its colour, is that why ever since we started calling you Big Juicy you've been wearing that Innocent Smoothie t-shirt, is it?
No, that didn't land.
We'll just cut it. Cut it.
Yeah, we'll just cut that. Or I can leave it in.
Or leave it in.
I mean, you left in the one of me fucking up the joke last week.
I'll put it this way. I'll take Stefan Diggs and I'll take that out.
You'd want to be saying a lot worse.
Yeah. I have a reputation on this podcast to uphold of being one of the three people that isn't Walshy. Don't you take that away from me.
So okay, lads. So you've had a good bit more experience in terms of like different styles of beers than I would have. Is this fairly typical of a double dry hopped beer?
I would say it does. Like a double dry hop beer is still what hops you use, you know. So these seem more traditional West Coasty hops to me. So in that sense, yeah, it is kind of what you expect. With the double dry hopping process, the hops kind of take over the beer quite a bit. And they have in this case with those floral notes, the kind of resininess and the bitterness. But it's been done well, and it's a good takeover in this case. Yeah,
so just to add a bit to what Mark was saying there, another big thing that happens when you dry hop a beer is you get that it doesn't give it a whole load of extra bittering units. They're got from the boil, but the thing that it does is it gives a lot of aroma to the beer. So that's like we were saying at the start, how this was such a strong smelling beer, and it was straight there, it was right in front of you, it nearly kicked you in the face when you poured it out. That's a lot of what the dry hopping does. It gives a few extra bittering notes, but it gives that big punchy aroma to the beer and can help add to the flavour a bit, because what happens with the hops is as the yeast is still fermenting, they undergo this, it's a process called biotransformation, and depending on when you add the hops into the fermenter, you can get different levels of it. So if this is double dry hopped, usually what that means is they'll do it at 2 different stages, so you're getting a lot of different flavor profiles across the beer. So yeah,
This is very much in trend with a big kind of a chicness within the craft beer market these days, that a lot of breweries are coming out with their double dry hopped version of a core beer, or they're trying a double dry hop thing and they're slapping big DDHs on it, and it's kind of the new, say, chic nouveau kind of stylish thing to do for craft breweries, is to have a double dry hopped option. So I guess this is Heaney's one, and it's a pretty good entry, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Our kind of science guys, they'll know the back terms of it a lot better than two of us. So like me, it's, do you like the beer? Yes. Do you dislike it? No. And it kind of sums up everything that you'll get from me, to be honest with you. And I enjoy this beer, which is a win in my book.
No nuance at all.
If we're going to be called, if me and Nally are going to be called the science guys, I want an audio clip of Jesse Pinkman screaming "science bitch" for us to play before we do any ratings or stuff.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I'll do that for the last episode of the season.
excellent. Are we all getting unique sound, just little sound profiles before everything for the last episode?
Yeah. No, I have yours, Walshy. I have it sorted. I see there as Mark
like it to be do.
No. I wouldn't do that yet. No, I wouldn't do that yet. I see Mark there has
Joint
finished
bell.
his. Mark has finished his Heaney double pale ale, so we'll mosey on to the rating of this one. So as always, it starts with unbearable. We then go booze. Then it's just beer. It goes brutiful, and then unbeerleavable. So who wants to start this one off?
I can go if you want. Or Mark, do you want to go?
Yeah, Walshy hasn't gone first in a long time. Go on, Walshy.
It's a straight up brutal beer for me. I mean, we've kind of said what we needed to say the entire time. There's no point of carrying it on. It's just brutal. It's a lovely beer.
A man of few words this week, Walshy. Mark?
Yeah, I'll agree. It's brutal for me. I never really kind of got the unbelievable vibe off of this. It's really, really delicious. It's quite refreshing. It stays very consistent the whole way through, which is a big plus. And, you know, it's got a lovely floral note with a lot of good bitterness at the end, which I thoroughly enjoy. And it's fairly light for a DDH pale ale, like. So, yeah, really, really enjoyed this. Would try again. Brutal.
Yep, I'll agree with the two lads. Brutal beer, solid entry, super refreshing. It's crisp at the start, smooth in the middle, and then bitter at the end. I mean, and all three of those stages are kind of pretty distinct, but at the same time blend into each other. It's a really good beer. Yeah, just solid, brutal. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm not sure I can add any more to what's already been said. I mean, it's a very consistent, brutal beer. Love the floral kind of hints throughout. The bitterness doesn't kind of kick you in the head, which kind of a lot of these West Coast inspired kind of hops can do. So yeah, I would say brutal as well. So that's, I think, is that one of our first consistent ratings this season, the whole way through?
First in a while,
so.
alright, yeah.
And consistently good, which is great to see.
Now on to the Saison.
But first of all,
Not yet.
I mean, you can just rely on every northern accent being the same. So like, the only way I could spice up would be to put a London in front of Derry when I say where they're from.
what is wrong with you? That's the longest. That's the word with the most silent letters in the English language.
Yeah,
I was going to say that joke earlier on, but
I joke.
everybody knows it.
Okay, sure. The boys, the crafty crew, they're awful sound all together. Heaney's double pale ale is after getting a brutal rating, and it's mighty so it is.
Nice. Yeah.
It's time for another question mark quiz. What's this week's quiz about?
Well, Kinger, it's time for Donegal or Who the Fuck Knows? So we're heading off to Donegal. One of my favourite things about Donegal is the place names. Okay, for instance, if you go on Wikipedia, I just took the C's for example. So this is 5 places in Donegal, legitimately places: Clare, Crumlin, Cashel, Coney Island, and Carthage. Okay, so Donegal is just a fucking shit show for names. All right, so I'm going to give you 5 names, and you have to tell me, is it Donegal or who the fuck knows? Okay, so are we ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's do this.
Okay. So,
Is it the usual honor system? Yeah.
it's the usual honour system. Now, because it's a 50-50, like, I expect you to get quite a few right. And if 2 of you are ahead after 5 and level, we'll do like a sudden death. So I've got plenty of names here.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, almost every name in Donegal is a shambles and a ridiculous name. So there's no shortage. So, the first one is Legland. Spelt as it sounds, Legland. So, Mr. Paul Walsh, I'm going to make you go first. This will be pretty quick fire, guys.
I think that's Donegal. I think it's too stupid not to be.
And Nally, you're next.
Donegal.
And Kinger?
I'll say Donegal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It's Donegal. Legland, Donegal. Okay. On we go.
Sounds like something I'd come up with.
On we go. Are we ready? We are going with the next name, which is Crovinananta. So Crovinananta. Nally, where do you think that is? I mean, well, do you think it's Donegal or anywhere else in the world?
Donegal.
Okay. Kinger, you're next.
I'm going to say no. Like, it can't be.
So no, and Walshy? Okay, it is in Donegal, so that's 0 points for
Hey!
Me.
Kinger and Walshy.
That's what I mean.
Are all these
I
going to
feel
be
like
in
I know where
Donegal?
it's
Are they all going to be in Donegal?
No, they're not all Donegal, okay? So we ready for the next one?
over.
Tavrobel. So Kinger, you have to go first this time. Where is Tavrobel?
Fuck knows. Not Donegal.
Not Donegal. Walshy, I'm sorry, I'm absolutely having the time of my life watching the 3 boys here. Their faces are just on fire with anger and confusion.
It has to be anywhere else.
Okay, Nally?
Fuck knows.
So is that an answer, is
It's
it?
Donegal or fuck knows, isn't it?
Yeah, because
Oh,
it's...
okay, yeah.
Is it not Donegal or who the fuck knows?
So correct,
Fuck knows.
correct, boys. That's not in Donegal.
Hey, where is it?
It's a fictional city from the Lord of the Rings, Silmarillion.
Oh,
Yeah.
very good.
I was gonna say, is it Narnia?
Yeah, but let's be honest. Let's be honest. I mean, it's not a million miles
Or
away from
Legland.
Croveen and Anta, is it?
No, it's not.
Okay. Are we ready for place name number 4?
Yep.
Findrum.
Me again, is it?
So I think we are back to you, Walshy, to go first. Yeah.
Can you spell that?
Yeah, if you want. Findrum.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Findrum.
Can you?
Yeah. I just asked you where Findrum is.
Donegal.
Donegal. Nally?
Fuck knows.
Fuck knows. And Kinger?
Oh, Donegal. At the risk of trying to catch
It is Donegal.
Is that a 3-way tie now?
Ah, the lads. That's a 3-way tie going into the last.
I believe it is. Okay. So we ready?
Oh no.
Hang on, let me just actually tick off the ones I've given you here so that I don't ask you one again.
No, give us the same one twice.
I'll still get it wrong.
Okay.
It's been a minute. Donegal might have changed somewhere.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yes.
Nindamos. Think Nally, you're next. You're first to go this time.
Say it.
Yeah, I'm up.
Say it once more.
Nindamos. I've literally read these, Kinger, so I'm probably pronouncing them all wrong. But
Narnia. I don't think it's Donegal.
okay. Kinger, I think you're next then.
I'm gonna say it's in Donegal.
Okay, and then Mr. Walsh.
I don't think it's in Donegal.
Okay, it's not. It's
Hey!
not in Donegal.
Big juicy falls.
Once again, it's another fictional city from the Lord of the Rings Silmarillion. So you know where I've done my research for the non-Donegal counties, okay? And now for the tiebreaker. So I've kind of set it up like this. I expected a bit of a tiebreaker, just statistically. So Walshy and Nally both have 4 points. Kinger, unfortunately you're eliminated with 3.
I'm out.
So you're out. Your streak has come to an end, my friend.
The king is dead. Long live the king.
On that note, we're going to end the podcast right there. Until next week.
Okay, so you know where I've been getting my fake names, okay? So, Walshy, you have to go first, unfortunately, but tell me, is this in Donegal or not in Donegal?
Sure.
Are you ready? Umera Wiranan.
Oh, that's fucking Lord of the Rings. Has to be.
And Stephen Nally?
Oh, well, I don't want this to go on. I'm going to go Donegal. 100 Donegal.
It is, in fact, Donegal. So
Sounds like
congratulations
such a
to
Lord of
Nally.
the Rings place as well.
Christ.
Order is restored to the universe.
A few more notable mentions. Magaran and Umrafad, and also
Umrafad.
Trestamukla.
Yeah.
That's quite Irish, Trestamukla.
Yeah.
So I didn't give you that one. Also, Abernadorney. These are actual places in Donegal.
There was with the first place you said was like Mega. It sounded like Mega Ran. It sounds like Mega Ran, and he's a rapper in America.
You learn something every day, don't you?
There you go.
Right, let's get on with Kinnigar's Saison. This one is called Mary Tiller. And crack them open.
Oh, lads, it's a spicy.
I have no nails.
Just got away with that.
To open it.
I mean,
Don't open it, Walshy. Don't open it.
don't do it. It's not worth it. B or B.
So one thing I'm quite a fan of with the Kinnigar Brewery is their motto is like follow the hops, or their tagline, whatever you want to call it. It's on all their cans, and it has a little hare bounding along with like a little stream of dots behind him, so you know that he's jumping. So I think that's a real cool little nod to hops, and a hopping hare, and then they've hares on all their cans. So good job, artistic designers.
I just don't want to even rate this beer. It's after destroying my table. Like,
I will say for this beer, it is our second one tonight that's a dry hop beer as well. So this is a dry hop saison, and again, you can really smell that straight off the bat. Kinger probably more so than others, as it's now his new, it's instead of Febreze, he's just spraying Mary Tiller around the place.
The aroma Nally is a really subtle saison flavour, though, isn't it? Just the aroma, sorry. It's not as strong as I thought it would be.
Yeah, this is definitely more on the subtle side. This is, I think what's happened here, Mark, is possibly the hops are after, because it's been dry hopped, it's kind of taken away from that farmyardy smell that is more kind of common for a saison. Now that's just my theory on it, but I think it could be, because a lot of saisons aren't really dry hopped; they're just finished in a bottle, bottle conditioned and bottle aged. Whereas because this is dry hopped, it might have helped with masking maybe some of that farmyardy smell, which we'll kind of know more when we try it and see how it actually tastes. But yeah, definitely not as strong as I was expecting.
It's coming in at an even 5% as well, like our last one. So the alcohol is kind of straight down the middle with this one, the ABV.
Did we discuss the can of this? Like,
Mark vaguely did earlier on, alright. And he was saying something about the
typical Kinnigar, like
the hare holding the hammer and the spanner. I'm going to put it down to the fact that I assume that's some kind of a more type of a thing. That the fact that it's going, I don't know, mental. That they're probably trying to fix it.
Okay, Walshy, can I want to see? Can we get you to what this is? So the beer is called Mary Tiller.
Is it called a tiller?
So what do you think? It's called a tiller, exactly.
I knew it was a thing that go into the ground and then like spin and it pulls up the carrots maybe, but I couldn't think of the name. But then tiller, makes sense. So I assume he's waiting there with a hammer and a spanner to fix it because it's going mental.
Or else he's a particularly Tarantino-y hare, and he's waiting there with a hammer and spanner to kill the other hares and take their carrots after they've finished.
It is a very cool looking can. It's one of these ones where as soon as you get a glimpse of it in store, you know it's a Kinnegar can, right? Like it's they're class.
Yeah.
They're very
the
cool.
Kinnegar stuff cans always kind of stand out. They're just have the really cool, not even comic-y story to them, but like a little, like we were talking about Rust Bucket. It's a dog and a plane. You have Bucket and Spade. There's like animals making sand castles, etc. You know, they're like just cool like that.
There's breweries that kind of have a consistent art style that when you see it,
Yeah.
you know that's that brewery. And then there's breweries that come out with very entertaining can designs that like you kind of have a chuckle at it, or you like tell people about the can you seen because it looked funny. Kinnegar are the only brewery I know that come out with every single can consistently hitting both categories. That they're you know immediately it's Kinnegar, and also it's an entertaining can design, and you're like, yeah, that's class. I need to tell somebody I saw that.
I would say that Yellow Belly would be another brewery that do the same thing. To be fair, I think they have
Hit
the
and miss.
same. They hit the same marks.
Hit and miss for me.
I was
don't know.
I was going to agree with you, King. I was going to say Yellow Belly as
Yellow
well. I think
Belly,
their cans are class. Yeah, and it's similar thing. You know straight away it's Yellow Belly. They have that bit of story to them as well. I think they're class.
There's
Cans.
a bit of fun in them, yeah.
Yeah.
So color on this is like fairly typical for a
Straw.
saison as well. Kind of a golden.
Golden
Kind of
gold.
strawy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have no head left on mine now, because when I opened the can, there was like, a split second of silence, and then all of a sudden the entire head just poured out all over me and my laptop and my microphone. So I have no head left on mine, but I'm assuming there should be a bit of a head.
Well, Kinger, doing as many episodes we have and being on season 2, you should know now not to open your can over your computer. You always open it to the side, preferably over like a towel or some kitchen paper or something.
Yeah.
Or a basin, so when you spill it, you can just drink it later.
If you have a basin, I don't, but that works.
So Kinger is involved in the sidetrack here, so I'm going to get us back on track. So the aroma of this, because of the dry hop, you're definitely getting some floral notes. You do get that saison-y kind of flavour in the aroma, but as me and Ali already said, it's kind of quite subtle. The mouthfeel is interesting, I think, for a saison. I normally find these quite sharp with the farmhouse flavour, and it kind of overpowers any mouthfeel because of the flavour. But the flavour in this is very subtle, and because of that, you get a reasonably smooth mouthfeel, I would say.
The flavor is the farmhouse flavor is there, but like you're saying, it's not as sharp. It's a bit more like it lasts from start to finish. Like if it's more elongated, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think for a saison, this is really subtle. I mean, it's still very farmhousey in general.
Yeah.
But like within the style, this is one of the more subtle ones I've had.
Yeah, I'd agree with you 100% with that. I think I might be going a bit mad, but it's kind of lemony as well. Like lemony biscuity kind of flavour as well. A little bit. Just there's definitely something there that's a bit more citrusy than a lot of the saisons that I've had. Definitely not as sharp as them, and not as not as pronounced as them. But it's pretty smooth, like you were saying, Mark. The carbonation isn't too over the top. There's definitely some there, but it's not too over the top, so it's not creasing you, which lets that flavour kind of sit that bit longer, which is a nice thing for this.
Yeah, and I actually find, and like let me know if you guys agree, I know your can's kind of exploded, so we may be having a slightly different tasting here, but it has quite a dry finish for me. And normally with a dry finish, you want a kind of nice subtle flavour, because if it's going to stay there in your mouth after it's been dried out, you don't want it overpowering one way or the other, regardless of the style. And the subtlety of this actually works quite well with that. I was a little worried because saisons for me are a lot of the time terrible or brilliant. And I find difficulty with the mediocre ones. They degrade over the drink and they just end up as bad. And the good ones seem to be done right and stay good. So I'm hoping this is one of those.
Yeah, so I think that's what's going to be the key to this one. It started off pretty well. The smell is, it's kind of more floral than what I'd say most of us were expecting from a saison. It's not as punchy in the face, barnyardy. The mouthfeel so far is pretty smooth. It's a dry finish, but that's fine with this beer. The flavour that's there at the start is subtle enough that you're okay with it staying around for a while. Still, I'm getting something kind of lemony off it, but not super, but just kind of near the end, there's something a bit lemony. But I think if this can stay consistent the whole way through, I think it'll be a really good job.
Yeah, I definitely get the sweetness you're talking about, Nally. It's almost like the back sides of your tongue that get activated a little bit with it. I'm not sure. It's hard to pinpoint though, but lemony is as good a word as we have at the moment.
Our saisons in general would they be quite heavy?
Well, it depends, because you can get saisons. They vary over a wide range of ABV, so they do. Like we had one there a few weeks ago, the one that Kinger slated Sergeant Jimmy and doubted their credentials. You know, that's just bad move on him. But I think Sergeant Jimmy was about 7.2%. But you can, you know, they can vary quite a bit, which means, you know, depending on the alcohol content, they might feel a bit more heavy if they're higher up there.
I think historically they were a low alcohol beer, but their resurgence has kind of primarily come in the craft beer market, where it's kind of anything goes in craft beer. So it's based on whatever the brewery feels like doing. They're just going to do it and slap the saison style onto that alcohol content.
Yeah, exactly. It's because they were brewed for, I think we said it a couple of times now on that episode as well, but they were brewed for workers and who were out working the farm, and so each farmyard would actually the beer they brewed would be called a saison, and each farmyard would just have its own version of it, because they just use the yeast that they've had on their farm to brew the beer, which, you know, gives it a different flavour wherever you are. So I suppose that's why you'd wanted kind of lower ABV originally, because you don't want all your lads going out there getting absolutely twatted, trying to operate a tiller like these rabbits here.
Yeah, these rabbits had a few too many Merry Hillers before they started.
They're Murray at the tiller.
I love it. I would say it's the first saison I've had that isn't in a bottle. I know they're generally historically bottle conditioned, so it's weird to have one out of a can.
That's a good shout. Yeah, I didn't think of that. That is a good shout. I'm trying to think now. I might have had one other that was in a bottle, or in a can. But generally, yeah, they are in bottles. Yeah, that's a good shout.
I think the only one we might have had, Nally, besides this one, off the top of my head, is the Wide Street House Saison. Maybe. I'm sure we probably had others. We drank a lot between even the four of us, so there's probably a few stragglers in there.
Yeah, I think you're right though. That Wide Street is the House Saison. I think that is in a can as well. Yeah, good shout.
I feel like for a saison that's 5%, I feel like this has started off quite heavy. The subtlety of flavour is there, which I think is important for this, but I feel like that allows kind of quite a boozy taste to come through. Even if it's only just 5%, I find it tastes a bit stronger than it is.
So I would counter with that. These are generally kind of spicy beers. So maybe that heat you're getting isn't really alcohol. It might just be the spice flavour of it. So I am definitely getting that kind of heat on the lips, heat in the mouth. Not so much in the back of the throat, like with a whiskey or something. It's more a mouth heat. And I think that's just the kind of spice nature of a saison.
Yeah, I was going to say there was something kind of on the back end of it that I wasn't getting, and I was going to say like a bitterness, or maybe like even a slight cidery bitterness to it. But maybe that spice, maybe that spicy part that you were talking about, Mark, maybe that's what it is. But at first, as you're taking it in, it's quite smooth and it goes down. But just at the end, there's a bit of a bitterness there that it's not like very bad by any means, but it's kind of takes me away from it a little bit.
It's not a cider, Walshy. There's no cider.
I know
it's
not.
Leave it alone.
I know it's.
Put the gun down, Paul. Put the gun down. It's not worth it.
See, if we're going off last week, my opinion on ciders, I don't know where I stand anymore. MacGyver has saved me, you know.
Damn.
MacGyver.
MacGyver.
And also, I know it's not called MacGyver, but in my heart it is.
I would like to very quickly throw down the gauntlet to Kinnegar and say you know, there's an awful lot of hares, rabbits, whatever you want to call them, in there on their cans, and they're actually harvesting carrots on the can of this one. So here is my gauntlet throwdown for them to create a beer that includes carrots, just as a as a wild experiment. You can get carrot cake. You can, why not?
Why not? There's some mad yolks out there.
100%, it's the Easter special they need to release. 100%, they need to release it as an Easter
100%.
special.
Yes, absolutely.
I genuinely thought you were saying, there's hares and rabbits on all their cans. They need to do a beer that includes rabbit.
Yeah, I thought it for a second.
What? It's Kinger on a mixomatosis brew, huh?
Bugs Bunny does not approve this message.
If they want a bit of help, since it was Kinger's and the Crafty Crew's idea, if they wanted some help on it, as they bring us up for our 2-day course on brewing, we can help make it together.
What's this? It was Kinger's and Crafty Crew's idea. It was Kinger's idea.
We've established this over time. It's one for all for one.
I'm finding
I think, Big Juicy, as you found out the other day, talking to a collective is a lot easier than talking to a single person. So, as a collective, it was the Crafty Crew podcast idea.
Fair. I know we talk as well a lot about consistency in beers, and this, for me, the more I drink it now, while it started off quite heavy, I'm starting to enjoy it a bit more. There is quite a few refreshing notes and subtle floral flavors coming through, which is obviously weird for a saison, but it's breaking the mold for saisons in that it's in a can anyway. So maybe it's just a different take on saisons.
With the floral kind of notes, because they're kind of spiced farmhouse beers, you are liable to get some sort of floral kind of hints in there. I actually find this quite consistent. I'm about, more than 3/4 through it anyway, and I'm having the same beer I had at the start, I think. The spice, the kind of heat of that builds a little bit, but I'm actually finding it quite pleasant, because as it builds, it's nowhere near spicy. It's just kind of a spiceedness almost. It doesn't deserve to be called spicy. But as it builds, it almost gets to spicy, and I do find that kind of enjoyable, because the crisp freshness of it counteracts it with each mouthful. So you get a nice contradiction there that's enjoyable.
Yeah, I will throw out one thing, Mark. I think, we were talking about the start of this where I was kind of saying I had that kind of lemony sweetness. That's kind of dissipated as it's gotten a bit warmer, so it has. It's gone a bit more farmyardy.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's still a nice beer. But I don't think it's not, like when you were saying it's the same beer you were having at the start. For me, it's not. That kind of sweetness has dropped down. It's kind of gone a bit more towards the farmyard as it's heated up. But I'd agree on the rest of it, that kind of little bit of spiciness there, the kind of floral notes, they're solid. It's a solid beer. But yeah, I think if it had stayed, I won't get too far ahead, but if it stayed the whole way through with that kind of bit of sweetness, that lemoniness with it, I think it would have been a better version of itself. It would have been the best that it can be.
I feel like there's going to be a bit of a less harmonious rating system with this now when it gets
possibly
there.
Yeah, possibly. Walshy, thoughts on this?
I don't know if it's a thing maybe you kind of got used to it and it's a bit more not comfortable, might be a wrong way of phrasing it, but the bitterness for me at the end of it isn't as, and it wasn't super harsh, but isn't as harsh for me as it was at the beginning. But it's still there. I'm not a lover of that, but it's not a bad beer by any means.
You know the way we were talking about kind of the spiciness and the kind of floralness for this? Would this be a beer that might be best described as maybe like herbal? Like instead of spicy and floral? Is it kind of in between? Like it's not really spicy and it's not really floral. It's kind of in between. It's more herbal than like... Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I do.
It does.
There is a bit of heat there, though, I think.
Yeah, but like, it's like, I would say it's yeah, but it's not like herbal, like fucking, I know.
See,
whatever.
You say herbal to me, and I'm starting thinking green tea, potpourri, that kind of avenue. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's not that.
No. But I'd say potpourri and stuff like that is more floral. Like, I'd say herbal is more like sage and,
Yeah.
thyme and stuff like that, as opposed to being, spice, which is like pepper and chili, and floral would be like potpourri and whatever flowers you eat. I don't know, roses or something.
I get you.
They're really good.
Kind of an oregano kind of vibe down that route.
Yeah, something like that. You know what I mean?
I get that.
I could also be talking absolute scutter, but it is kind of that way, I think.
No, it's interesting now that you say that. I feel like I was missing that, but it definitely, for me, from start to finish, it started off a lot heavier than it's finishing. It seems to get a bit more pleasant as it kind of maybe heats up a little bit. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, because nobody likes warm beer. So, like, everyone likes an ice cold beer. But it could be as well that it's gone quite flat as well, quite quickly.
I will just say that saisons are weird because the main audience of saisons are not going to be occasional craft beer drinkers. This would be one of the more hardcore craft styles, I would think, because of the farmhousey flavors. Because you have to kind of develop a bit of a palate for that to get what else is going on. Like, I've had somebody try their first saison in front of me and be like, "Oh man, that fucking tastes like silage. Fuck that." And I'm there quietly sipping away, being like, "Oh, well, actually, lovely floral spice notes with a nice earthy, rich flavour." So it is something like coffee when you're a teenager or whatever. You have to kind of develop a bit of a palate with it. And because of that, I think you should give it a bit of slack when you're considering its drinkability en masse, because it isn't aimed en masse. It's aimed for those saison drinkers.
Fair.
Like you're not going out and sticking on saison for, you know what I mean? It's something that, as you say, Mark, it's something that we're going to get maybe, you might get after dinner, just as something to sip on for a little while before you start into your drinks or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it is just more of a sipper than an actual something you're staying on all night.
And you'll notice that the two breweries we've had saisons on for this, recently, have been Kinnegar, massive craft brewery, really well established. They can afford to do something kind of niche like this, and Black Donkey in Roscommon, which are in not quite as big, I'd say, but the same kind of class, that they're really established and they can do this. You're not going to find a saison like as the first beer or second beer a brewery comes out with. Like, it's just not marketable.
Yeah, not so much. I think though Wide Street, they do a lot of Britannomyces brewing, and I think one of their first was like a saison. But that's kind of, but that was the market they were aiming for. That's what they like to brew. So fair play to them for going out that way. Just a quick one on Black Donkey when we were saying it. Remember we were looking into it and they were talking about how they did the Underworld series with their Morrigan yeast. So they brought out 3 new beers for it. They brought out Rua, Attila, and something else. I found them in the shop the other day. So on next week's episode, I'll let you know how they were. But I am super excited to giving these a go. Like, nice. Super excited to trying these because that Sergeant Jimmy was really nice. And I just saw the 3 of them. If anyone gets a chance to see them, pick them up. The bottles look like the job. They're just super cool bottles. They've all got a lovely little story on them and everything, and it's just looks like they're going to be good. They might be shocking, but I hope not.
Okay, well, before Natty brings us to his rating for a different beer, I suppose we'll get this one rated first. So I'll start off with this one. For me, it's probably just beer. I liked that it was a subtle take on the farmhousey saison at the start. It felt quite heavy to begin with, and then it changed to a bit more kind of sessionable as I got through it. But I find that if I finished that and enjoyed it and then cracked a new one, I'd be kind of back to square one, and it's a bit like starting all over again. By no means a bad beer, and Kinnegar, in the grand scheme of things, have yet to create a beer that I've tried that I've been very disappointed with. So they've been consistent in that vein. So I'd say Just Beer for me, but a fairly positive Just Beer all the same.
Yeah, I'll jump in next, Kinger, and I'll say it's a Just Beer for me. I think it's a solid beer. Really nice. Actually, might be one of the easier saisons to jump into if you are trying saison for the first time, because it doesn't have that super overpowering kind of farmyardy flavor or smell. It might be a good way to jump into them. If it stayed, it's the nature with saisons, when they heat up, because of the way they are, they tend to change quite a bit in flavor profile. This one doesn't change nearly as much as some of the other ones I've had. But if it stayed like it was at the start, like I was saying earlier, if it stayed with that kind of lemony sweetness the whole way through, it would have been a beautiful. But it's right on the verge for me. It's Just Beer, but it's definitely close to tipping over. Like,
I kind of jump on board on kind of what Kinger was saying. I mean, first off, is like saisons are they're a bit of an odd one in general, but I'd say comfortably it's the best saison I've had. I'd still put it at a Just Beer in any terms. And when Kinger was talking about Kinnegar beers being solid, and he's not wrong at all. And even if this is a good one, and being a saison, being very on the fence in general with them, they can go either way. This would probably, now not to sound insulting, but the worst Kinnegar I've had. But it's still good. So it's kind of like, I nearly feel bad saying worst, because it's still a good beer. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But Kinnegar don't disappoint in any beer that I've had so far. So it'll be a Just Beer.
Yeah, so I knew where this is going, so I put my fighting cap on. Literally, I'm going to throw some shade now.
That's an Eagles hat.
Yeah,
I mean, they're fighting nobody.
We have a fight song. It's terrible, but that's what it's called.
Let's spell the word.
I think this beer has suffered a bit because of its style on this podcast. And I think it's a bit of a travesty, because this is probably as nice, if not nicer, than Sergeant Jimmy. And I give that an unbelievable, and that's what I'm going to go with this. I'm giving this an unbelievable. It's beautiful, subtle. It's got a nice little bit of heat that builds towards the end. Lovely floral notes. It's refreshing. It's not overpowering with the farmhouse vibes, which, even though I actually enjoy them, I don't think, I don't think a lot of people would. But I think it's I really, really enjoy this. And it'd be a shame for me. I'd actually be annoyed now if this gets to Just Beer, but I'm giving it an unbelievable. I think it was really good. One of my favourite Kinnegar beers.
Wow. That's a big one. Yeah, one of your favourites. That's big. I get what you're saying, Mark, and I think it's fair. It's just, I think on the Sergeant Jimmy, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it got a Just Beer, or did it get the Brutiful?
I can't remember. I wasn't a big fan of it.
Yeah, it got a Brutiful. Yeah, I think I was in the same boat along then. I think I gave it a Brutiful that time as opposed to a Just Beer this time, and it's because for me I preferred that saison over this one. This one is very close to it. I am really enjoy it, but it's just, I don't know, there's just something where it's not as consistent as some of the beers we've had. It's class, and I do think it's possibly the best saison for someone to try getting into saisons. It's probably the best one for them to try, but for me it's Just Beer still.
And we always say it, consistency is key when it comes to drinking a beer from start to finish, especially on the Crafty Crew podcast.
Anyway,
but it still gets a Brutiful from the Crafty Crew podcast, which I'm very happy with. I'm very okay with that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with it. I think it deserves it. Well done, Kinnegar.
Okay, and as hopefully, as Daniel O'Donnell would say, Sure, well done to the good old boys at Kinnegar and their beautiful rating on the Crafty Crew podcast.
That was your worst northern accent yet.
Thanks.
You barely changed your voice for that. That was terrible.
Thanks.
Is that after he tried to fix your boiler, Kinger? Were you giving out to him?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So a fairly inconsistent episode. One very consistent beer to start, and then one not so consistent to end it with. Two fairly decent beers for this episode, to be fair. Next week we are in Clare and Fermanagh. Walshy, just to put you on the spot here, we always have a go at you about Eamon Dunphy at the end of every episode. What do you want to say to annoy one of the two boys?
First of all, I'll lead off with, like, they talked about Eamon Dunphy. I really don't care anymore, so you're kind of wasting your bread on him.
We're winning him over, Nally. He's coming around. He's gone from hating him to not caring.
And on that note, it's a goodbye from Mark, a goodbye from Nally, a goodbye from Walshy, and myself, Kinger, aka Big Juicy. See you next week.
Number one in the fan club.
Eamon Dunphy. Eamon Dunphy.